Happy Friday. This is Overpass Live. My name's Eric. I make apps. This is the weekly live stream. Well, kind of weekly. I mean, we skipped last week. I think we skipped the week before that, but it's a live stream where we can just get together and chat about whatever we want to talk about. What's new in the app stores, what's new in the app markets, what's new in game frameworks, which of our favorite game frameworks are going away, etc., etc., etc. It's been a busy week for me this week. So I've been moving house. So that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I only did 2 videos this week. I thought I should try to keep up the videos. Last weekend I was gonna do more, but I've been moving into an apartment, and just like I've been doing all the client work, but then also I've been moving, boxes up and down flights of stairs and everything, and unpacking everything, and it's been it's been an interesting week. It's been a busy week, but and then also I've got client stuff, so I'm making some changes to an Ionic 1 application, which when Ionic 2 came out, the Ionic team was saying, no, we're still going to support Ionic 1, don't worry, but like they weren't going to support it forever, and now I think we're getting to the point now where it's getting hard to find documentation on Ionic 1 that's not in a forum someplace. So anyway, just wanted to say, hey, Mega Man 2016, happy Friday to you too. Gaming 901 HD, hey, how's it going? So that's why. So last Friday was Valentine's Day, but it was like the day that I picked up the keys to the new apartment, or to the new flat, as I would call it, and basically moving into there. And one of the things I wanted to do in the new place was to use all these Google Home speakers that I have and just sort of like link them together, so that I could try to have the connected home type of thing, just to try it out, just give away all my privacy and security, everything like that. I also have the Amazon Echo, but that's still here in the office. So one of the strange things about Google Home, the reason why Google Home is not, or Google Home is not that useful in the UK, especially if you're a G Suite user, is it doesn't integrate with G Suite. Like, I can't ask it about my schedule. I can't say, remind me to do this or anything like that. It's just basically a thing that plays music and answers random questions, and about 20% of the time it gets it wrong. So, that's just all there is to it. But anyway, I missed you guys. So I haven't been doing videos this week, only a couple days. And yesterday I even filmed a video from my flat to say, about all this kind of stuff, about moving and everything. And then that just, I came into the office and read the news about Corona disappearing, which was like, to me, was like a big blow. I mean, I keep checking it. It was almost like their blog posts and like the whole ecosystem just started to shrink after a while. Like people just started, I don't know if people started to abandon it, but it did get to the point where every time like a new framework, I mean, I felt bad. Like the people around Corona, I mean, it was like they did a really good job of keeping up with all the updates and everything for Google Play, for the App Store. Every time, when 64-bit came out, whenever there's like the app started getting rejected for whatever reason on App Store, they would go through and fix that, and everything was urgent, and they were able to do it. And I thought, God, it seems to be the same people working on it, and they weren't making enough money from it, so they had to shut down the company, and that's why I'm kind of worried about it. I know I put RIP Corona up here, but it is going open source, so it might be vibrant going forward, but it depends on who maintains it. If somebody picks up the mantle and actually maintains it, and maybe they'll fork it and do something else with it, and it'll be something where we can still compile all our old games with it, which would be fantastic. So anyway, Apavelli's here. Hey, Apavelli, how's it going? Happy Friday. What do you think about the subscriptions to services like Pluralsight and Pack Publishing to learn new technologies? I've done both. So I've done Pluralsight for, especially when I was like, it used to be, we're talking like 7 or 8 years ago. I was on Pluralsight, and it was the nice thing. You had Lynda.com at the time. You had Lynda.com and you had Pluralsight, and Lynda.com was like a lot of the Adobe tools. There was a lot of everything, and Lynda.com is now LinkedIn Learning. And for some reason, I think because I'm on a premium LinkedIn, I'm on the Sales Navigator one, so I get access to LinkedIn Learning. At least that's what I think. So I'm not being charged anything more, and I have access to all these courses, and I just could care less. I mean, to me, it seemed like Lynda.com was more for the generic people, like the people just coming into it, like, it covered a whole bunch of things, and Pluralsight was very much .NET. Like it was just on the ball. It was cutting edge, especially for the Microsoft stack. But I haven't looked at Pluralsight in a while. But it was a really good tool, especially if you're just coming into something. And I've also had the packed publishing subscription for like 2 years, where I can go through and read anything. What I didn't like about the packed publishing, just my personal opinion, Apavelli, was I didn't like that I had to read everything through a web browser. Like if I wanted to read anything from the library, but then you get like a credit a month on the plan I was on. And there was 2 different plans I've been on. The first year I had like a credit a month, so at least I could download this stuff. And it's really strange because I've always been like, okay, if you're gonna start learning something, get a course, get a book. It starts you from A to B, go, go, go. And it's really starting the lines start to blur between what is a book and what is so an online course and online tutorials like on YouTube for free. Look at our good friend Rezo Coder, who's like he's always commenting on the videos, and he's got like way more subscribers than I do. His videos are really high quality, very like Flutter based. To the fact that even like this week he put a comment on, and then other people were commenting on how good his videos were on his channel, like on my channel. That's cool. But anyway, like something like that, you look at paying for something like Pluralsight, and you always have to make that judgment, like what do I get from that having paid for it versus what I could find for free. And most of the time it's the curation. Like if you could find something online, people doing that, and it's packaged nicely, then you're fine. The problem with if you just pick and choose, like I want to learn how to do this, I go to this video over here, then I do another search over here, I go to this video. But anyway, I think it's becoming less and less relevant. And I remember thinking that when I think when iTunes came out, and they were like you could buy music tracks from them, and you could just buy the single song. And then I was thinking, why would you buy the album anymore? And it's strange that we still have a concept of albums. Like an artist still releases an album, which went from being a thing that they actually did, to being a unit of measurement. And like a book of articles is basically like you take blog posts and turn it into a book, or you can have a cohesive story and turn it into a book. And I think we need to differentiate between that stuff a lot. The same way I think with online courses and just online tutorials, right? It's just the way that it's packaged. And but that's just my opinion of it. I mean, have you used it? What do you think? Roop Tapa said, hey, how's it going? Alando Brewington, hey Alando, how are you? Muhammad Al-Kurdi says, hello, should Android developer know everything about Android, like animation stuff, concurrency, maps? No. I mean, you will never know everything about Android. You're not going to know, I mean, unless you need to. Like, there's certain things you should know. Like, you should know, let's go back to it, but like everything, you should know how to build an Android application, render a form, run a background thread, communicate with the internet, communicate with an API. You need to know how to compile. You need to know how to do test-driven development. Is not a necessity, but it would be really good because that will help you with everything going forward, and error handling, obviously, and deployment. I mean, there's more than that. Like rendering a form, being able to draw things on the screen, that kind of stuff. But like HealthKit, like would you really need to know HealthKit? Would you really need to know animations if you didn't need to know animations? It depends on the kind of work that you're doing, I think. And really, it's all about whether or not if you're going for a job, then you just want to be well-rounded. So you want to have like a lot of that experience, so that if somebody asks you how to do it, you're not like, dude, I have no idea. Like, okay, conceptually, like you conceptually don't get it. I remember talking with me and another developer. He was my boss at the time. But before I ever done anything with games, we were talking about, how do games work? Because we were just event-driven web-based applications. You click a button, it saves to the database. You fill in a form, click a button, saves to the database. You go to the next page, it loads from it. Everything is a page view event or a button click event or something like that. You didn't have the concept of the game loop. And so we were talking about how a game would work, like all the if statements that you would have in there. And it was like, and then you had to that's where you start getting object-oriented programming really well. But at the time, it was like, I couldn't imagine all the code that's behind it. Like, let's look at, like, even if you're like, if you work in a bank and you work on web applications and you look at even a simple 2D game, your mind would be blown. You'd be like, dude, that's way harder than the stuff I could do. And I know game developers who look at database-driven apps and they're like, they don't know SQL, and it's just, that looks like a different thing to them. But really, it's just knowing the tools. Some things are way easier than they look, and some things are way harder than they look. But so to answer your question, do you need to learn everything? I think if you're going to go for a job, you should learn as much as you can, at least so you could touch on it. So if somebody says something to you, it can't be like totally out of left field. Like you conceptually can't even imagine it. I mean, when somebody comes to me and says, do you think we could do license plate recognition? And I'm like, I need to go research that. Like, at least I have an idea where to go and look for it. I mean, you know, and I think that's the best that you can do. But I don't think you need to be expert at all of that kind of stuff. And if you go for a job and they expect that, screw them. Don't take the job, right? There's so much information out there. You are 2 or 3 clicks away. You're one good Google search away from finding the answer, right? And I don't think there's a reason to load up your head with all that kind of stuff. But you need to know the syntax. Like, you need to know what you're looking for and how it all fits into the big picture. That's just my idea. Let's see, but yeah, but if you're, and that's if you're going for a job. If you're just doing your own applications, I think just learn the stuff that you need to learn, with the exception of things that you don't think you need to learn, but you do, like error handling, compilation, test-driven development, that kind of stuff. Because it's not sexy, and it doesn't seem like it's important until you get bugs, and then it is really important. It says, hey Eric, hey, how's it going? Billy, sup Billy? FFFFFF, I know. Says Corona Framework, the latest version of coronavirus. Yeah, when I did that video, I said the end of Corona SDK, and it hasn't been called Corona SDK for a few years. They rebranded itself to Corona. However, if I don't call it Corona SDK, people either, like, if you try to Google it, like just Corona, you get the beer, you get the virus, you get like loads of other things, or I was like Corona Design, and there's like a company called Corona. Like, in terms of names, it's not a great name. So I would always just do Corona SDK, even in the video. And I did know that it wasn't called that anymore. But yeah, that is kind of a weird thing. I think, that's the reason why the video was not monetized. Like, they reduced the ads on it. They said they restricted ad monetization. And I wasn't quite sure why. I thought, well, there's only like 3 videos about Corona finishing that I saw out there. There's not like well covered, and I guess it was because I had Corona in there. They thought it was coronavirus, and they probably thought I was clickbaiting, but it's nothing to do with coronavirus, obviously. Apavelli says, I also find subscribing to Photoshop worth it for creating stock images for my apps. Yeah, some of the free tools are just not good enough. Yeah, I mean, we have the that's what we had, the 10 images a month. So I actually went from Dollar Photo Club. So what was Dollar Photo? Yeah, so it was like $10 a month. I was getting 10 photos a month, and then they were acquired by Adobe. So then the price went up because, you know, it's Adobe. Screw you customers, right? So and then the price went up, and then I got a salesman on the phone saying, "Do you want to upgrade to 40 a month?" And so I was paying for 40 images a month, like 80 pounds. This is one of the reasons why. This is why I end up in financial difficulties. So, and then, but the nice thing is it didn't expire after a month, so I was getting 40 credit. But I was at the point when I canceled it, I had like 300 and something credits for stock images, right? And do I get to keep them after I cancel? Nope. Gone, right? It was just so, I hate that. Even if I cancel Audible, I get to keep my credits. I think. No, I think if I can pause it or whatever. But yeah, some of them, yeah, and stock images, it's weird because you have to look at the licensing of them, especially if you're including them in an app, because you're distributing them a different way than you do via the web. But we use stock images a lot, especially if we don't have a designer on. So, Awele Studio says, can I get my disabled AdMob account back? Reason, invalid traffic. I didn't do anything wrong. I think you should be able to. I mean, appeal it. I mean, they're gonna hear you out. I mean, they've heard me out before. I've never had the whole account suspended. I think I've only had ads suspended. but I've been able to appeal it each time, and just keep appealing, right? Keep appealing and be as vocal about it as you can, and don't be like, you know, we like okay, I'm a bit of a I'm not like I'm not the kind of in my mind I'm John Wayne, and I go I don't take anything from anybody, but in reality I'm like, hey, hate to bother you guys, but I think you made a mistake here. Hey, I understand what you guys are going through, but whatever. But it's not me. It's the users. The users need to know this, or it's whenever I have to appeal something, so you go in there hat in hand and just try to get them to realize it. And the hard bit is just getting somebody to pick it up and review it. And what I would do is try to be as public about it as you can. Do some stuff online, talk about that, and see if you can get somebody to notice you. And don't be in there like, those bastards, those assholes, how dare they? Just be like, I think you guys made a mistake here. Right? I just want to, point this out. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I know other developers have said similar things, and I'm sure you guys got loads of problems with spam, but that definitely was not the case here. Can you please review it again? But again, that really is like, once you get somebody to read that, which is the hard bit. I mean, that just is. The amount of times I've had clients, like we have an app rejection, and I'll have a client say, can't you just call up Google and explain the situation to them? I was like, dude, you don't know Google. Like, you can't just call them up. Like, I go, I'll call the switchboard and say, yeah, put me through to your app approval department. So, let's see. Rupata says, native and cross-platform, what's your take? Why we have to compromise on experience in the hands of cost? You always have to compromise experience in the hands of cost in everything in life. I went to go buy groceries the other day, and I went to Aldi, which is like, the food is, it's cheap, and the food is not as great. It's not as high quality, but it costs less, right? In anything, you have to compromise that. And in development, you do too. Have to get something out there. You don't have to. You can spend as much money as you want on your application. You can spend as much time as you want on your application. Nobody's, if you're going to buy a car, go get the Ferrari. Go get the Tesla. Go get the Mustang, right? Nobody's stopping you, right? But except your budget, right? And so that we do what we have to do. We try to do as much as we can, spending as little as possible, so we can save those funds for marketing and everything like that. So yeah, Rupatas, you don't have to compromise on experience in the hands of cost. By all means, spend as much money as you want, right? I'm not in that kind of position myself, and neither have any of my clients been. Let's see. Pact Publishing has an app to read books now. Oh, does it? Appability? Yeah, when I was doing it, it was all on. Yeah, that was. If they had an app, that'd be better. I mean, I prefer to read them on Kindle, but. Chord Funk, what I miss? Oh, we had a big discussion about existentialism. Let's see. John Mollahan, yo mama. Yo mama. Anybody who's watching and hasn't said anything yet, say yo mama. Even if you're watching this on a replay. If you're watching this on a replay, put yo mama in the comments. And then anybody who watches before the 19-minute, they'll just think you're being rude. Which is fine. You have permission. So John says, have a great weekend. I'll catch the live stream later. Okay, thanks, John. Says, Eric, what are your thoughts on the Mac/Windows apps and their respective app stores? I think it's untapped. Like, so when I did do a bunch of Mac applications, I've never done any Windows applications, and the only reason was the barrier to entry. It was so we go back to Corona. So we go back to Corona, and they did support Windows applications, like Windows Phone and Windows Desktop. And the only reason I didn't go through it, I think I did set up a Windows Store account. The only reason I never released to it was because I didn't have a Windows Phone for testing. I did have a Windows PC, but I just never went through the extra steps. It was like this extra, you have to compile on something else and run it through another program, that kind of thing. And in the end, I didn't. But on the Mac App Store, it was getting downloads, right? Especially if you have something that's a cross-platform framework, right? You don't have to recode it. You might as well release it to those stores because not everybody's doing it. I mean, why would they waste their time on something that doesn't make that much money? And then the flip side of that is you're on an app store where it's not as crowded, and if anybody's searching for something, you're likely to show up on rank. So I think it's definitely worth doing, depending on how easy it is. Qasim Quaid says, hello. I want to start my own app development startup. I'm 38 right now, and I have little experience with app development. Is it okay to start now? I think so. I mean, it's uh, yeah, I would say so. I think it's gonna evolve. I mean, everything's gonna evolve. Um, the app market's gonna evolve. Some people think it's disappearing completely, the same way they thought the web was gonna go away back in 2002 when the bubble burst, right? But it's just gonna change, right? It's gonna be, you know, uh, we have some clients who want to put things on the app stores and make money through that and base their business on that, which is cool. That's still possible to do. We have a lot of clients that are businesses and want to do stuff, or they have like a user base of like 50 people, their sales team or whatever. And that's so like the market is changing. Things are so it's definitely still possible to do it. And I think there's so much work out there that you don't necessarily like. Well, we'd be in competition together, so Kasim, I'm taking you down. I'm taking you down, man. Don't come into my market. In fact, none of you guys start app development companies. I'm gonna capture the whole market myself. No, but there's so much work out there, right? And there's some things like there's some projects which I just don't want to do, and I'm like, so I'll be like, yeah, I'll have to pass on this one because it just seems like it's gonna be difficult, or it's far more complicated, or there's various reasons, or maybe I'm just too busy, right? But so there's lots of work out there, and and when you don't have client work on, then you should be doing your own stuff, right? In fact, doing client work as a way to supplement doing your own stuff is a really good idea. The same way that a songwriter might play in a cover band so that they can support writing music and building their own masterpiece. The same way an actor will be working on his own screenplay and his own opus, but in order to do that, he has to go take work on a sitcom or in commercials or whatever, right? As developers, if you're going to build your own thing and you can't afford to do it, then you have to take on a job. You have to do that kind of stuff, and you might as well be using the skills that will help improve you all around as a developer. I mean, that's the way that I look at it. Which I kind of sidestepped the question, but yeah, I don't think it's too late to do it. I mean, I think it's okay to start now. The best time to start was 5 years ago. The second best time is now. First Last says, there are a lot of app developers who start their business in the UK. Is there a reason for this? I think it's, I don't know. I don't know that many app development businesses in the UK. I mean, I know there's a few, but I think a lot of people, well, you know what, a lot of people do. Like, as developers, I think it's difficult being a developer. You're working for somebody else. They're telling you what to do. You've got all the skills. Maybe they got the ideas, but you got ideas too. So you should be like, I think every developer should be doing on their own little side projects, right? I mean, I've always been doing that. I've always had something like this big idea that I started but never finished, but like it helped me skill up a little bit more because I've been in the code and stumbling along things. I could, it's kind of embarrassing the amount of projects I've started and kept them going for maybe 2-3 weeks, and then it was like I move on to something else more shiny. But then you have a job where you have to go and do that, and it helps you get better contracts, you get better jobs, whatever. But it's the E-Myth. The E-Myth Revisited was a book by Michael Gerber, really good. But when he talks about it as being an entrepreneurial seizure. He said most businesses start from a technician who's doing the job, and he says, you know what? I don't need this boss telling me what to do. I'm the one with all the skills. I should be the one to do it. And then they go out and then they start their own business, and then they're the ones doing it. And eventually, they realize that they're trapped in the job, and they don't have a boss. Their boss is them, and their boss is a jerk because they can't not do it, right? So it's some people will go back to doing a job, and some, and like me, I'm always on the fence. I'm always like, I feel like after all this time, I'm still doggy paddling, right? So like, I'm still, my head's above water, like, okay, all right, one of these days I'm going to become an Olympic swimmer, but that's just the way, that's how you get better at doing it. And I think that, that's the reason why a lot of people start their own app businesses, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be successful. I think like a lot of things, they realize that the missing components they have, which is sales skills and presentation skills, and being able to go out there and find clients. And I've talked I've talked many times about my own experience of setting up my company and setting up my website, setting up my get my phone number, my business cards, and just waiting for the phone to ring, and and it doesn't. I mean, it's like so those pushy, annoying people who would tell you what to do in your job, they were also very good at being pushy and annoying, getting clients in, and all that kind of stuff. And that's like a whole nother learning curve. The same way that building an application is a lot different than marketing an application and getting people to download it. It's like you realize that, oh, there's another side to this that I got to learn, and constantly always learning all those different sides of stuff. So that's a bit rambly, but that's my opinion, First Last. I don't know if you agree, disagree. Patrick H says, a few weeks ago, I told here that a scammer was illegally redistributing my application on a website he made. For that, I had no idea what to do. I would like to share what I did to get rid of him. Awesome. Let's see. Number one, do a who is request for scammer's domain IP. Cool. Number two, find out who provides the domain, which the company is a web hoster. 3, contact the web hoster and report the copyright infringement. Maybe this helps if someone with the same problem. It's easier than contacting a lawyer. For me, the steps worked very easy. Yeah, when something like that happens, everybody says, go get a lawyer, right? I'm like, I don't want to go get a lawyer. I don't want to go explain some technical thing to some guy who's not technical and pay him for the the privilege of doing it, and then say, because, I think if there's something you can do like that, that sounds like it really, that makes sense. Thank you for that, Patrick. Did he take it down, or did the hoster remove the site? Phil J, ciao from Portland, Eric. Hey, ciao. This time next week, I'll hopefully be watching from your time zone in the UK. We're moving to the UK starting today. Woo! Congratulations. Yeah, it's a good time to come. Daylight savings starts in 2 weeks. I mean, so it's that's like the best thing I can think of. Yeah, great time to come to the UK. Daylight savings starts in 2 weeks. Oh, beautiful time of year. But yeah, it's been cold. It's been windy. It's been windy the last few weeks, but again, we've had such a mild winter here. I think it was probably been maybe half a dozen days where I've had to scrape the windshield of the car. It's just been very mild the whole winter. I don't think we've had a single snow day, and we're already near the end of the winter. Alando Brewington says, I've been thinking about adding junior devs to take on larger projects. How do you vet new devs that you bring onto your team? Alando, this is something I struggle with all the time myself, because you want to bring on a junior developer. The ideal situation is that you don't want somebody who's as talented as you. Actually, that's not true. You do want somebody as talented as you are, but you do not want you don't want to pay somebody who's as talented as you are, right? So you want to bring in somebody more junior so they can handle a lot of the type of stuff, and you can do more of the architecture stuff and the higher level thinking. But then you realize that you have to manage those people, and that can be a bit difficult. And there's nothing worse than giving something to somebody and watching them complain about it. You say, oh, really? Do we have to do that? Sure, but it's working. Why do I have to change the code? Whatever. So that's one thing. And just struggle with it. It's going to be easy. But at the same time, the only way you're going to be able to scale is to bring somebody up. And they're not going to be a junior developer forever, right? For me, I use a lot of offshore developers, which they should be not junior. I call them the junior a lot of times because of the stuff that they do from time to time. But they're not really on my payroll. So I have had developers on my payroll before, and it was difficult keeping them busy. So then, when we have a weak month, then I was like, eh. But the downside of hiring offshore developers and using them is that if they improve in skills, that's not it doesn't benefit me. It benefits their company, right? And then all they do is they jack up the rates. They said, oh, well, he's experienced now. The first ever development team I hired, that was a thing. They came in. They were really inexpensive. I think it was $4 an hour or something. They were just this team, and it was it's your dedicated team. And it was so after the first month, I gave them a bunch of stuff to read because they said they went through training a week, 2 weeks training on Android. So I gave them stuff to read. They read it. They started to get a little bit better. The next month, they raised the rate because they're much more experienced now. And then the rate up, and then finally in the end, I just said, screw it. They're your developers. You deal with them. Like, they're on your books, right? And that's one of the, you hire somebody project based, you don't have to worry about somebody on the bench. When you hire somebody directly, you have to worry about them sitting there with nothing to do. All right, but if you hire somebody directly and they start to get better, then it benefits you. I mean, eventually they're going to want a salary increase, deservedly, but most people don't ask for a salary increase within the first 2 weeks or month. Although it's happened to me before. Let's see. App Taylor says, "Hey Eric, hey App Taylor, can you tell me the difference? Oh, where did it go? Can you tell me the difference between CPM for AdMob banner and CPM for AdSense? Is there a difference between the CPM between these two?" I don't think there is, because CPM just stands for cost per mil, and I think they use the same kind of system. I'm not aware of any difference, App Taylor. Sorry about that. I wish I did know. I mean, I'm much more familiar with AdMob than I am with AdSense, and I use AdSense a lot for publishing my own apps. But I know that it has to do a lot with, like, your RPM has to do a lot with the bidding type of the person actually placing the ad. So some people will do it based on the number of impressions. Some people will do it based on the number of clicks. So you never really know. It's one of these weird things where you just get, you display the ads, you put the ad placements in, and you get paid for it. I'm always surprised at how many ads are on, like, news websites. Like, they're actually able to get enough eyeballs that they can make money from these ads all over the place, right? Because it seems like, there's no shortage of news websites. There's no shortage of websites in general that are just making money off of ad revenue. Yeah, sorry, App Taylor, I don't know the answer to that one. Gregor Zinarjic says, "Hey Eric, do you have experiences with publishing demo and full paid versions on App Store? My app got rejected when publishing demo app, violating policies." No, most of the time. So was that on the App Store? I do this a lot, but most of the time what I'll do is I'll put a demo on, and I just do it through TestFlight. Like, because I never publish something that has demo in the title. It's always just through TestFlight. Because ultimately, most of the time for us, like, I have a client, like my App Store account is full of, such and such demo, right? But like, they never get released. They're always just TestFlight builds. So that I could get started on development. Like, I get client feedback while they're spending however much time setting up their App Store accounts. And it should be easy to set up an App Store account or a Play Store account, but sometimes it could take them months because they got to go through finance departments, and they got sign off from so and somebody's got to decide who's going to spend the $99 on the account. And then once they get it released, it's got somebody's name on it rather than the company name, and then they gotta go figure all that stuff out. So a lot of times I'll just release it on my own App Store account. And with Google Play, with Android, I usually just send the APK. But this week, I thought I'm gonna use an alpha build on Google Play. I've never really used alpha and beta builds, so like it's embarrassing that it's been there for so long, because it used to be able to put people in Google Plus circles and all this stuff, but now it seems to be pretty straightforward. So I thought I'm gonna do that, and and I released a build, and it's been pending publication for like 4 days, right? And it was like finally in the end I went on Test Fairy, which is another, like, it's like TestFlight but for Android. So that we could actually release it. But no, I've never actually published it, like gone through the review process. But I think, but Gregor, if you were to remove the word demo, I mean, how will they know? Keegan says, "Hi Eric, are you working on any side projects for fun?" Not really, but I need to. I think this is one of the things. I'm restructuring a lot of things, business-wise, so I have some more time to do my own stuff. Right, I plan on moving out of this office in the next couple months. I got this office lease until April, so I plan on moving out of here and just working from home, right? So I could still do client work, and I'll probably get like a virtual office so I have some place to go and work. Like if I need to meet with a meeting, not you don't work at a virtual office, but like if I need to go meet with a client or something, and they genuinely want to meet in an office rather than a coffee shop or in their own office, then I can still hire out an office or Regis or one of those kind of things. But I need to get on it. I just, I've got ideas. It's not like I don't have ideas. It's just like when you sit down and work on them, you're sitting down working on your own project, and you realize, you know what? I've also got that specification I told the client I would write. I've got this, the developers are waiting for me to review, 5 pages of emails that they sent me with questions of stuff, or and people are waiting for stuff, and it's just, not to complain. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday who has like a really stressful job as like a paramedic. It was like, and I was talking about, and it just, that kind of stuff just makes me think, my stressful job where I'm, the client's mad at me. Like it's not really it's not that stressful, but yeah, you want everybody to be happy, everybody good. So, but no, I need to have some side projects for fun. I think the only thing that I do as a hobby, aside from going to the gym, is I go to Toastmasters every couple weeks to practice public speaking. And what am I practicing public speaking for? I don't know. I mean, it was kind of get better at the videos, but after a while, but let's see. Uppavelli says, do you use Adobe XD to prototype your apps? If not, what tool are you using? So it's actually been a while since we've done one. We usually use Adobe XD, but because I canceled the subscription a month ago, we're kind of right now we haven't really had any major ones to do. So I'm gonna look at some of the other ones. The only one I could think of is Proto.io. No, there's Proto.io. There's Sketch. There's there's some other good ones out there. It's like when I canceled Adobe subscription, I went full on into Canva. So one of the things we did use is Adobe Spark, which is it's an okay tool, but Canva's better. Like Canva seems to have more features to it. And I thought maybe it'll be the same with Adobe XD. If I do mock-ups myself, I still do Balsamic, which is just wireframey look. And it's easier doing that because I don't want to get it, I want specification to be separate from design. And I want to say you click on here, it goes here, you click on here, it goes there, rather than arguing about fonts and colors and everything at that stage. I just want to get the developers need what to do. The designer needs to know what to do, so we need to get that done. And but hopefully, when we finish with the wireframes, we're really talking about textures and colors, which is outside of my comfort zone. It's like a lot of things. I know what I like, but I can't really describe it. Like a softer feel, or it'd be nice if we have a nice little texture on the background, or maybe a drop shadow here, or whatever. And like if I were to design something, it would look awful. It would be so, you know what? I'm gonna go for Comic Sans font here. I'm gonna go for whatever. And I want the side to come in and go whoosh. Which, by the way, I had a client. We have a client project we're working on. I gave him some of our demo apps, some of our own applications, and one of the feedback he came up with says, "Well, this application I want to be more responsive. I know, so I focus on performance because your apps need to be very slow, where it's taking a long time to load." And I said, actually, that's just all cosmetic. Like I want to have the splash screen on there for like 3 seconds so that I can show my brand, and I like to have the buttons come in from the side, and maybe it is a bit slow, but it's not performance. It's not like we're actually loading things on there. It's not because it's sluggish. It's just mainly because it was me. Pramad Kumar says, "Hello, Eric." Hey, Pramad. My AdMob is terminated today. Oh, and will affect. Will its effect on Google Play console account? I have one app there, both having the same email account. I don't think it should, unless the reason it was suspended was for the content of the application, right? If it's for clicks or something like that, then you should be fine. I would go with another ad network though. Yeah, why did they terminate it? I mean, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing you should just take like, oh well, they terminated it, I guess I go, what am I gonna do? But like there must be some reason, and do you know why? I mean, but I'm not saying it was justifiably terminated, because it sounds like it's really easy to It's really easy to get terminated. I'm afraid of being terminated myself on some of these applications, and makes me start to question ad revenue in general, right? Because ad revenue is such a fickle thing where somebody's placing an ad. Like if you ever place an ad on AdMob, you want to make sure that there's no fake clicks at all, right? Even if there's a slight question of fake clicking on your ad and you're being charged for it, you'd want that to not happen, right? So they got to be really diligent about that. And I'm sure every time they're always cracking down on it. And I think it's going to get to the point where it's going to get really hard to make revenue with ads. Where in-app purchases, I mean, in-app purchases are fine. I don't think anybody's ever... Yeah, I've never heard of anybody being suspended because of in-app purchases, right? But, you know, it's also, especially on Android, you have a lot of users who don't have their credit cards associated with a Google Play account, or they don't have payment methods and stuff like that, or they're just not, you know, they're not willing to pay the money for that kind of stuff. Let's see. Mara94 So SRB says, "Hey Eric, so are you guys still there? I want to make sure. I haven't gone offline or something. I'm just talking away, sitting in my office. What if one day I wake up and I realize that the live stream doesn't even exist, and I've just been here talking to myself? I've been seeing images of text." So stupid. I was like, this is what at the end of Friday, this kind of stuff I think about. Dun dun dun. What do you mean, Eric? There was never anybody. There was no live stream. Mara94 SO SRB says, "Hey Eric, hey, how's it going? We have some ASO projects on mind, and we don't know how much to charge." Oh, okay. "It's impossible to find a range on the internet. We feel that we change too little for past. We charge too little for past projects. Some advice." So to do ASO work, it's difficult. Like, I don't know what to charge. I've had companies, ASO companies, contact me, and they say they want to talk to me about stuff, and they wanted to charge me £4,000 up front to do like an ASO audit, and then £1,000 a month to make sure that the ASO was kept up on my applications, right? And to me, that seemed like ridiculous, right? Unless, you know, and like if they were able to say, if we get you up to, like, if you make $10,000 a month, then we'll charge you this amount. Then that would be a no-brainer for me. But like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, well, yeah, let's get this thing going. But they can't guarantee it. ASO is like you can't guarantee success, and that's the hard bit about it. But if you could guarantee success, like if you take a percentage, that would be awesome. Then it's all on you, right? It's you deliver or you don't get paid, or you don't get paid as much or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what to charge for something like that. And that's what I have had companies contact me asking if we'll do the ASO for their applications because they've seen a video that I've done, and I'm always tempted. I'm always like, yeah, well, then I can just see the conversation. I can see them saying, so it doesn't seem to be doing any better, or it's not doing as well as I thought it should be, or whatever. And they'll be like, and you might have to get in a conversation where you have to say to them, dude, you need to change your app. Like, this is, you need to make it better. Like, we can get as much traffic there as we want, but they're not downloading it for X, Y, and Z and everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you would charge for something like that. I think it should be based on the time that you put into it. But also if you can demonstrate the value that you'd be getting, especially if you have Mara, if you have a case study that you could show them saying, these people went from 0 downloads a day to 10,000 downloads a day, and we want to do the same for you, then you're really talking about, then you charge what you want, and they can either afford it or they can't. But the reason I've never hired an ASO person is because it scares me to death. Like, once you start talking to them, they're all promise and no guarantee. We lost internet? Okay, I can't see it. Hey, all right, can anybody hear me? I don't know if I'm still online or not. Let's go to... let's see. I'm not sure if I'm online or if we're offline or what. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I don't know if I should risk farting at the moment, because if I do, you guys will you'll catch me. But for some reason it says I'm disconnected from chat, which is not good. Okay. Oh, you guys can hear me. Okay. Phew, I didn't fart. All right. Cool. Oh wait. Okay. So for some reason I think my I've got I got a VPN on my iPad, because my son's taking cyber forensic, and he scared me to death about VPNs, or about interceptions and stuff. So I put a VPN on there, and I'm using ExpressVPN, which works pretty well, but like whenever the internet slows down or I lose internet, it's because of that. So that's what I have running on my iPad. Let the pigeon fly away. Is that what farting means? I'll let the pigeon fly. That means there's something actually flying out of there, which is like, that's not a, well, anyway. Sorry. So yeah, anyway, I'm glad you heard of what I said there, Mara, about the, I think the whole thing about, there's a good book called Selling the Invisible, right? You're basically selling them the promise of something. And if you can't guarantee it, then you need to be able to demonstrate that it has worked for others and why it should work, right? Because it's the risk is either going to be on you or it's going to be on them, and if you could split the risk, then that's better. But if all the risk is on them, then you have to demonstrate why you're confident that it will work. Patrick Egg says, yes, the hoster blocked the account from the scammer, and the website is also down, of course. That's excellent. Niraj Betty, hey Niraj, how's it going? I got your Skype message last night. I need to check it. Keegan Naito says, another question. Do you go for dev conferences / talks? Has anyone changed the way you design software? I used to go to them all the time. I haven't been to one in the last year. I used to go to like App World in London, and a lot of these conferences, and sometimes like App Annie will put one on, and I'll go to that. But a lot of the times I find that there's a lot of booths and stuff, and again, like everybody promising something that they could make your app really good. And I think I just don't like being like, sometimes I don't feel like I don't like being the mark. I don't like the idea that as a struggling app developer, as a lot of us are, or we may not be struggling, but we're always trying to do better, and we're the ones actually doing the work. We're the ones that actually do stuff. We're actually putting stuff out there and tweaking it and making stuff happen. And then you got somebody else coming and saying, well, I can make sure you do a lot better at that. And yet they don't do it themselves. It's difficult to take that kind of stuff seriously. So all you got to do is purchase our ASO tool, and then you'll do so much better. And then when you ask them for specifics, they're like, well, it's kind of thing. So it's what I would like to see from an ASO tool, and I've asked, because the contacting me for like sponsorships and stuff, and I'll say, can you tell me specifically how to use your thing? Like, tell me how to walk through my application. Look at that. Look at what you guys have, and specifically do that. And they never do. They say, well, you can see what the keywords on this other app are, right? But that's like driven from a lot of other stuff. It's not like you just put the keywords in there and it works. Although that's part of it, you also have to like look at the backlinks and everything like that. Has anyone changed the way you design software? A lot of stuff. A lot of it was from reading. I think in the course of my life, there's been certain developers that I work with that just changed the way that I think about how structure of code should be. Like it's and just the importance of having well-structured code, because you're working together on something, and because that kind of stuff is not easy to just see and go, oh yeah, I get it, yeah, I understand, yeah. No, it's like you're getting, but why? Or even like we look at the block pattern in Flutter, you're looking at going, that seems to be like a lot of work. Why would you do all that kind of stuff? It's not until you see the implementation and how it works that you actually understand why it's important. Test-driven development too is, has always seemed kind of, it's really, but once you get into it, you really see how well it is. But there's also these things that are like, you write the test first and then you run it, and it's going to fail because you don't have the code. You're like, do I really need that step? But there's been lots of stuff, and there's been books. Like one of the really good books that I read years ago was called "Don't Make Me Think" by Krug. Was it Steve Krug's something? I don't know if any of you guys have ever read it. Let me see if I can bring it up here on the screen. I mean, you show my screen this whole video so far. So there's this book called "Don't Make Me Think" on Amazon, and it was I mean, it's old. It's an old book, nothing to do with apps, but it is it's definitely one that it talks through you basically want to make it as easy for the user as possible. So you're trying to make it so that the user doesn't think, oh, what's this over here? What's this over here? Like, because, back in the day, we say, RTFM, read the effing manual, right? But nobody reads a manual, especially not for an app, especially not for a website. So that was a really good book. Another one was Mobile Design Patterns, which I have the ebook of, and it's called Mobile Design Patterns, but it's nothing to do with actual like design pattern. Nothing to the Gang of Four design patterns. It's mainly just a bunch of images, and it's let's see if I show. Is there a preview? No, there's no preview. But I've got it. I think I've showed it before in one of the videos. That was something that really got me thinking about looking at all the different interfaces, and the more different apps and stuff you look at, then you get more ideas on that kind of stuff in terms of design. At least that's what I think. When starting the app business, Appaveli says, when starting an app business, there's a lot to learn besides coding. Marketing and sales are really important when running an app business. You have to eat, sleep, and breathe your business. Yes, exactly. Do you know what, Appaveli, for the longest time, I didn't tell anybody about Overpass. I was working like contracts, and I never even mentioned it, right? And it was like, I kind of would hope that they would, like, ask about it. And this is, like, so stupid. I mean, this is, like, total, like, naive, right? Like I set up my business, and I'd hope that somebody would see the extension on my, like, the domain on my email address if I ever send a private email, or I'd hope somebody would see something and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've got this business. Oh yeah, that, yeah. And then it occurred to me that no, I have to, like, I actually have to talk about it. Like, and that's why one of the reasons I started the videos, which felt really silly when you got this little app business, and it's just it's just you, like, and you're like doing a video talking about my app business. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are, I would say, naive and deluding themselves that they've got this big business, and they're talking about their business. My business does this, my business does that, when really it's just them, and they just started it the day before. But at the same time, those people actually grow it because they almost talk it into existence, where I feel like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to come across as something I'm not, when ultimately I'm not going to grow if I don't do that. So, that whole fake it till you make it stuff. But at the same time, like, gotta be very honest with you guys about everything, the ups and the downs and all that kind of stuff. And when you try something new and you hire some people and it doesn't work, or you put out an app and it fails, or you have a client that decides not to pay, and there's like there's ups and downs to it. But you have to eat and breathe it. Like, for me, when I first got I had a company for like 8 years, and then I got a T-shirt that said Overpass on it, like, and I would wear that. I'd feel a bit silly about wearing this, T-shirt with my own company name on it. And now I say, the chat, like, I talk about Overpass all the time. Oh yeah, it's because it's a thing. It is an entity. It's got people that work for it. It's got, like, all this kind of stuff, and it's not just me anymore. Although, it's not just me anymore. It's like, it's always nice. It's weird to see other people's LinkedIn profiles and they talk about they work for Overpass. Because it was like this idea that I had. The same way, if you ever see somebody use your app, or they're talking about your app, if you ever like seen anybody talk about your app, like in a forum or something, and it's like, and you're not involved in it, it's like weird. It's like, it's like seeing it's kind of sounds weird, but it's kind of like when your kids go off and they're like learning on their own, and they're like, they used to be part of you, but now they're like their own little thing over there. But it's not that much yet. It's still a lot of, trying to get this one to leave the nest. This company, let this bird fly. We said before. Rodrigo says Alpha Build. Uh, Yay! Did you stop? Did you like the report they gave you? It hasn't. The alpha bill hasn't even finished yet, Rodrigo. It still says pending publication, which is. Excuse me. Just some app Taylor. First last says, I'm learning how to code and soon will register my business. Cool. I'm worried Apple will reject my app, putting me in a situation where I will have a business that is making no money. Other than the app store violations, generally, what kinds of apps do they reject? Most of the time, I mean, we talk about we talk about app rejections. Very rarely do they reject the app out of hand, right? If you're not doing anything creepy, like if you're not doing anything that's distasteful, then you should be fine. Most of some of the things that I've been rejected for, and we had getting rejected in like the first time I had an app rejected, I felt like the first time when I failed the driving test. I felt like driving test. Like you just feel like, oh, I'm a failure. Like, oh my goodness, I tried, but it's like, it's just a thing. You just have to change it and, make a change, then re-release it. So I've had apps rejected because they didn't like the name. So I released, my first app was called EarSpy. The paid version was called EarSpy Pro. They rejected EarSpy Pro because it had the word spy in it, but they accepted EarSpy. So it was like, and I tried to point that out, but at the same time, I didn't want to change the name of both apps. So in the end, I changed the name to Ear Record because it had MP3 recording in it, which was a stupid name. It's like the I Spy with my little eye. It was like Ear Record doesn't even make any sense. So I made a change, right? I've had rejected because they had screenshots where they showed the phone, show the app in a phone, and the phone is not an iPhone, it's an Android phone, which, the difference is the shape of the button on it. So what you show an Android device. I've had apps rejected because I've mentioned Android in the description. I've had apps rejected because they say that I have too many similar ones on the App Store. That's a big one. Like they just started so I'll take an app that we have and I'll reskin it for a new market with new branding, new everything, and which seemed like it would make sense. Like every business does that. But they said, no, they're spamming. You need to have one application. I was like, but they're completely different markets, different stuff. So, that kind of stuff. But like, I wouldn't worry about it so much first, last. I think you'll get through it. I've had, in consulting. So like, you'll see the link that goes at the bottom saying, if you want to book time with Eric, book time with Eric. I've had somebody call and they were doing apps for businesses and Apple started rejecting all of them. And basically the problem was that they couldn't release them all on their own account. And that was like, in the end, I was able to just look at it and say, oh, the reason that is because you're trying to release your client applications on your App Store account, which is easier for your clients because they don't have to set one up, but it's not easy to Apple because they want you to prove that you're actually that entity. And then you're going to get the that kind of stuff. Appavelli says Adobe XD is free now. What? Is it? Oh, I cancel Adobe at the wrong... Wait. XD pricing. All right, let me have a look at this. If it's free now, because that's one of the things that I really I'm having to look at this now, Appavelli. Not that I don't believe you. Let's see. Compare plans. XD compare plans. So. Oh, okay. Starter. Okay, one active project. No, active shared project, one unlimited. Okay, well, that's not so bad. See, $9.99 is not bad. I think it's I had the business one, which everything was like really expensive. See, this price here, $49.94 a month. I wasn't paying that. I was paying like 80 something a month because I was on the business plan, right? It's like when you say you're in a business, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, you can't pay that price. You have to pay this other price," like because you're a business, and like, but it's still just me. It's still just me. They're like, I had that with there's a company called it wasn't Sound Blocks, but it was one of the audio library one for the videos, and they saw my channel and said, oh well, if you're a company, you have to pay the company rates. I said, what is that? Well, how many videos are you gonna make? Well, that's like $20 for unlimited use of the music, and they're going, well, you have to pay per music or per whatever, and it was like ridiculously different. It's like if you ever get married. If you ever have a wedding, then they're like, if the photographer finds out, you hire a photographer and it'll be like, he'll show up and he's ready to take pictures. Oh, it's for a wedding? Oh, here's my wedding photography rates. You can't just hire a normal photographer. or find business like it's just one of those things. So I spend a lot more money on it. I'm just rambling on. Oh, I was born a rambling man. Let's see. Morandir says, is it allowed to use donation services in our apps like Buy Me Coffee, Patreon, etc.? Hi, everyone. I don't know. In fact, come to think of it, we do have a client that wants to put a GoFundMe link in it, but all we're going to do is open it in a new browser. So I think I'm assuming that's fine. It's a good question, though. I probably should find that out. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. But what I would do is open it up in a browser. That way you don't have to mess around with APIs or anything like that. Because basically all you're doing is linking to another site, as opposed to integrating it within your application. The last thing you want it to be is like an in-app purchase where you have to give them their cut. Let's see. Sound is great. Okay, so this is where I could hear you guys. All right, so Pramad Kumar says, thank you, Eric, for suggestions. My AdMob terminated due to invalid traffic. It's happening because someone intentionally clicking my app ads. So app appeal already review. From now, just waiting for a response. So I hope that goes through. I think the term they use on the AdMob website is link click sabotage or something like that. Yeah, it's the word sabotage, which sounds really awesome. I mean, it's not awesome. I mean, I'm sorry you're going through this, but like if you use the term sabotage, they're actually referring to it. So let's say, let's see if we can find that here. There actually is. Let's see, go back to screen share. So we do it. We understand that third party may generate invalid activity on your ads without your knowledge or permission. So maybe one of two ways: manually or automatically. Because this kind of activity doesn't reflect a genuine user interest in the ads, we constantly improving our detection systems, whatever. However, ultimately, it's the publisher's responsibility to ensure that the activity on his or her ad is valid. For this reason, we highly recommend that you review our tips for preventing invalid activity. You can also notify us of sabotage incidents. So I would definitely use that terminology. I don't know if that would help you or not, but that is because they're referring to it here, and you want to notify them of that. So don't just say I think somebody is doing it. Say it's sabotage as per this link. I mean, that's what I would do. But at the same time, I'm sure anybody who accidentally invalid clicks or whatever from, they can say, oh, it's just sabotage. So they might be skeptical, but if you haven't done it, then you haven't done it. You just need to make sure that they understand that. Or all you could do is tell the truth. That's all you could do is say, Mara says, great advice, thanks. We have one app that hit 1 million downloads and a few that hit 550,000, 10,000, etc. I guess that'll help to present ourselves better. Yeah, definitely. Do some case studies. That's the only way. I mean, you need to go and, do some case studies. ChordFunk says, TDD has a place, but when you start to do TDD for your UI, that's one step too far for me. Yeah, even with TDD, a lot of times I'll do it if it's something that's really, like, complicated. Like, we have got this one project at the moment. We got this complicated routine that has to be run, and we want to do it through a stored procedure, but it's difficult to do test-driven development through a stored procedure. But at the same time, I don't want this logic to be done in code. I want it to be in one place so we can change it easily. But there's sometimes where it's just the code gets so complicated that it's a no-brainer to do it, like some unit tests on it, because it's just you got to test all these different things. And you want to keep going, constantly. NWA Saba says, hello, Overpass. Hello, NWA Saba. ChordFunk says, yo, Eric. Yo, ChordFunk. How is Flutter going? I'm currently writing a PWA, not in Flutter. Goddamn JS and CSS makes me want to pull my hair out. It's not working because Jupiter is not aligning with Saturn or whatever. Really? That sounds right. JavaScript works Actually, JavaScript works really well when it's deployed, right? It's like an app, it's like using Ionic. I have these Ionic apps that are out there, and they're fine. They're having any trouble because because of whatever they use their own internal runtimes and everything. But then like you try to rebuild the application to deploy like one little change, like a label change, and then the whole dependency tree has broken for some reason, or like I have to put in the review notes in the readme.cmd, which node version I'm using and which Ionic version I'm using, so that I can go back to it. And I was trying to release something this week, which I was doing an Ionic version 1, and I'm trying to go back to node 4 using NVM node version manager, using NVM use 4, and it won't compile anymore, so I'll go up to 6, but I should be using 10. But that breaks. If I go to 10, then that breaks everything, and I'm tired of the constant remove the whole node modules and reload everything, and then you've got 512 moderate problems and 13 critical. Do you want to run whatever, and it's just a constant. And I like what you said. Center doesn't align. Rodrigo says, what, 4 days and didn't finish a report? Maybe something went wrong. I think it's, I think when you do, every time that Google takes a long time to approve something, it's something to do with privacy policy, in my experience. NWA Saba says, what happened to the game project? The game project is still going on, but it's for a client. So right now I'm going through and doing the specification, right? And we're going to do it in Cocos 2DX. I'm not going to do it. The developers are going to do it. But I was tempted in doing it myself. I still kind of am. It's like I think doing a game is a lot like doing like design. Like if I'm working with my designer, if I could get her, like we have a call, we can discuss things. And she can say, how about this? How about this? But if you're doing everything via email, everything gets slowed down. Everything gets a bit more difficult to explain because everything's so subjective. And it's the same way with doing a game, because a lot of stuff is like, this is too fast, that's too slow, and I would like if this kind of pops in from the side or whatever. So I have a client who will tell me, I'd like to, these buttons, if they could just pop in from the side, and I have to go to the developers, if they could pop in from the side, and they're like, what do you mean? Oh, that's a change request. I was like, look, it's not a change request. It's just like a little tiny tweak, and it's like, well, it wasn't specified. It's like, there's only so much specification you could do, especially with a game. Like with a form, like, whatever, first name, last name, gender, submit. That's easy to do, right? And then you do a flow chart saying, okay, when it does that, if it's male, then do that. If it's female, whatever. But with a game, it's a lot more, fiddly. But yeah, Rodrigo says, everyone hit the like button. Everyone smash the like button. Oh, by the way, do you like the way I wrote in cursive? I haven't written in cursive in ages. I don't even know if that's right. I was reading I was listening to an audiobook, David Spade's Polaroid Man in a Digital World, or something like that, and it's a bit funny. He talked about how he wrote something in cursive, and he had all these young girlfriends, and they were like, what's that? I can't read that. What kind of writing is that? So people don't do cursive anymore, apparently. But I don't know if that's true. I don't think my kids do it. They call it joined up writing here, which sounds like better than cursive, because cursive has the word curse in it, which thinks it'd be a lot more fun. Let's see. First Last says, does Apple reject an app because there are too many of a certain type of app? For example, too many timer apps. I think they could, but I've never seen it actually happen. Right? I think for me, I've had apps rejected, and then I get like someone else set up, because they can't expect you to check every single application to know what's out there. However, they won't take. There's certain types they won't take. So they won't take flashlight apps. And they won't take fart apps anymore. Let me see if I can find a list of it. Because I know flashlight's one. Well, yeah, I can't find it. I can't find a list of it, but I know there's some that they will. But yeah, just check on it. I mean, but when you get your app idea, have a quick look at it. Read the terms and conditions, right? If it's the hard bit was when they say something like, we had one client that we worked a long time on this application, and Apple rejected it because they said that the concept was distasteful, right? And the client didn't think so. I didn't think so, and it was like, and that's a very gray area, right? That was really like, 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 that was the estimation of the reviewer, and we argued that over and over again, but in the end we had to redo it as a PWA. But I don't. First, last, I wouldn't be so worried about it. I think is if you just if you don't have anything in gray area. So even like with my app EarSpy, that's been approved. That's been on Apple for ages. I'm never gonna ever I haven't updated it in forever. In fact, it's probably due to be removed because it hasn't had an update in a few years. Right. On the Google Play side, the fact that they removed EarSpy because it was creepy, I don't think it's creepy, right? But then I kind of see it. Like, it was all about the marketing and stuff. Of course, all the copycats are still there. Let's see. Appavelli says, "What are good subscriptions for app devs that are actually worth the money?" Do you mean like subscriptions that we pay as app developers? I don't know of any. For me, like, it's always just tools, like developer tools, like not even developer, like design tools, like Lucidchart's one that I think is worth it. I've paid for Sensor Tower for years. I've paid for other things for years, and a lot of those tools, they remind me of, like, I used to be, I used to work in investment banks. I've said it over and over again, but we work on databases. So we'd have all these huge databases, and so we'd have some stored procedures that would take hours to run because they were like, terabytes of data, but also they weren't streamed very well. So they'd always bring in a database expert, or they would get somebody to do it. And I can remember once having somebody show me the execution map on SQL Server, so they can see the stored procedure. Say, okay, so this is if you ever done it, you can see this is a table scan. If we put an index here, whatever. But he was saying, okay, so this is so this part of the query is taking 50%, and that part's taking 50%. He's trying to do it. He's like, okay, now this is taking 100%, and this is taking 0%. And he's like, do it again. He was trying to get every part of it down to 0%. And I was like, it's not even possible. Like, everything he talked about was theory. Everything he talked about was, that should make a difference, right? And he was giving reports to the management, and they were eating it all up. But I was like, well, ultimately, like, if we can't tell the difference if the query runs faster or not, like, we should be running the query. Like, if we run the query, and he was talking about, this has a 2% speed increase. I was like, dude, this store procedure takes 3 hours. We don't need a 2% increase. We need, there's something wrong with it, right? But he was nipping and tweaking. And when I looked at Sensor Tower, and when I hear people talk about Sensor Tower, how great it is, they're kind of doing that. They're talking about academic things, right? And I want somebody to show me something concrete. I want somebody to say, okay, we made this, based on this is how I looked this up in the tool. This is what I found, and then I made these changes, and this is the improvement that I've had. And I've never seen that. But that's just the thing. So that's just my theory. That's my theory. That's my theory. Cord Funk says, if I could do SSR with Flutter, that would be the dream. Dart is such a great language, a good balance between type safety and dynamic types. I feel like I've done quite a bit in Dart, but it seems like mostly what I'm doing is trying to solve problems that developers are having. I just thing last week where it was, I'm not a Dart developer, I'm not a Flutter developer, but I know enough that I could, write a program that will download a document and display it. Right? They're trying to they couldn't figure out how to do. Oh, I shouldn't even say that because I'm just so mad. I'm so angry. Let's see. Rodrigo says, Eric, don't hit the table. It gives me headaches. Sorry about that. I don't know why I got into that habit. I do that a lot in the videos too. I'm like, sorry. And Boris Legovic says, what's up, Erico? I'm doing good, thanks. Hey, everybody. I'm going to wrap up the live stream. I'm going to go get something greasy and nasty. I've been eating really well this week. And it's time for that. It's time for that to end. I'm going to get some pizza. I moved to a new town where they have a Papa John's. So it's it's my new thing. So, let's see. And it's the English pent up anger. Cord Funk, I'm American. I'm just living in England. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much for joining the live stream. Thanks for following the channel. I'm going to try to get all 5 videos done next week. This week I only did 2 of them because I've been moving, but get back on the horse and get, this week's been a strange transitional week. And, that's cool. And we'll do the live stream next week. And, that's it. I have nothing more to say. I'm blanking. Hey, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys again on the daily video on Monday, hopefully, and then again next week. Have a good weekend. Bye.